Hey, Chandler Bolt here, and in this video I want to talk about why you should take naps every day and how to take naps if you're someone that can't nap, right? So I've been taking naps for a really long time, and it's something that actually, first off, I kind of felt guilty about it, right? Like I did this thing every day. I'm like, man, I don't want to tell anyone. I don't want to tell my employees because they're probably going to think that I'm lazy. I don't want to tell my peers because they're probably going to think that I'm lazy. We kind of live in this culture of hustle. You got to grind, you got to work, all that stuff. But I really think that naps are kind of one of the greatest things that you can do to increase your productivity and also just your overall health. So it's really important. It's something that I live by, and I do it pretty much every single day, and I think that you should too. Now, the biggest benefit for me, and then I'm going to kind of break through or break down some famous people that nap. Then I want to kind of walk through the psychology on how you get over your limiting beliefs, and then we'll get super practical on how you can do it for yourself. So the big benefit for me is I feel like I have 2 days in one. Right? So I wake up, and for me personally, that's my power hour or power couple hours. It's really productive time. And then I kind of start to crash towards the afternoon. After I eat, I get really tired. And so for most people, they just kind of drift through the afternoon. For me personally, I take a nap after I eat, and then I feel like I actually have 2 days in one. So I feel like I'm waking up again. Now, this is really powerful if you have a bad morning. So I can't tell you how many times I've just, been pissed off, or, just business isn't going well, or I got distracted and my morning got away from me, and I feel like I just need to hit the reset button. And that's exactly what a nap does for me. Hits the reset button, I come out of a nap, and I can't even remember what I was upset about like 30 minutes ago. So it really is a powerful tool for that. Now, there's a lot of famous people that nap, and that's a kind of break down the psychology of this, because the first step towards napping, if this is something that you choose that you want to do, is really to get over the psychological part. Then there's the tactical part. So for me personally, there's kind of two psychological pieces. Number one is the cultural shaming. So kind of like, hey, it's not okay to nap. Oh, you're napping. Right? Maybe your boss is like, hey, what are you doing napping on company time? Or, maybe you just feel like from your peers or from your coworkers that they would shame you for that. And then number two is the limiting belief of I can't nap, right? So I'm going to solve that in just a second. But first, hey, why is this a cultural taboo thing? Well, actually, if you do a little bit of research, and this really opened my eyes. I remember reading a Michael Hyatt article where he talked about napping and how he did it. And I remember reading that article, and it was just like this huge sigh of relief where I was thinking, wow, okay, finally, I feel like this is okay. And he referenced that there's actually a lot of famous people that have done this. So some of the smartest, most successful people on the planet. So John D. Rockefeller, you've got Einstein, and you've got Edison, just to name a few. So obviously Thomas Edison, I think he invented more things than anyone ever. It was like over 10,000 inventions or something like that. You got John D. Rockefeller, who's like my business hero. And a controversial figure for some, but wildly successful. You got Einstein, who's one of the smartest people that ever lived, right? So if it's good enough for them, then it's definitely good enough for me. So let's get over that part of napping is a bad thing or it's shamed. Let's assume for a second that it's okay, and that, even if you get some flack from your boss, you're going to prove that you're more productive enough to where it will be okay. So let's get over that, and let's talk practical. So one of the biggest things that I hear from folks is I can't nap. And so what I want to break down is kind of exactly how you can train your body to nap. And really there's a psychological piece again there, and also the super practical. So first things first is getting over the psychological piece of saying I can't nap. And I'm a firm believer that thoughts are things, right? So we got to watch our language, and I'll record a whole nother video on this. But really we got to watch what we say, because every time that I hear someone say I can't nap, of course you can't, because you're telling your subconscious that you can't nap. Right? So one of the first things I tell people to do is eliminate that and say, I used to not be able to nap. This is kind of like a little lesson within a lesson, right? One of my favorite phrases is to say, I used to not be able to, or I formerly was, or just I create something that might even still be a little bit present tense and make it past tense to tell my subconscious, hey, I've gotten over this. Right? So for you personally, that could be, I used to not be able to nap, right? But now I can. So even just telling you, no, I am learning to nap, or I have learned to nap, or I'm going to train my brain to be able to nap, because I'm a firm believer that you can train your brain. I've done this over and over and over again for multiple skills, and you can do it too. So first things first, you got to get over the psychological piece of I can't nap and start telling yourself that I have the ability to nap. And so once you get that down, and so you're not kind of getting in your own way, because guess what? You're going to justify that if you have that thought. You're going to lay down to nap and you're going to say, gosh, I knew I couldn't nap. It's been 10 minutes. I still haven't fallen asleep yet. And your subconscious is going to be searching for a justification of that belief. So we've gotten that belief down. Now let's get into the practical. First, how long should you nap for? And then really, let's walk through the process on how anybody can fall asleep, even if you don't think that you're a napper. So the ideal time frame for napping is less than 30 minutes, preferably right at 20 minutes. Now, the reason why I'm behind this is because when you sleep through what are called REM cycles are usually about 90 minutes. So even backing out just a little bit, you want to kind of base your sleep patterns at night on those 90-minute cycles. So it's better to sleep for 6 hours, 7.5, or 9 than anywhere in between, because you'll wake up in your deepest sleep, which is why sometimes you can get more sleep but actually feel more tired because you're waking up in REM sleep. Now that same principle applies to napping. If you wake up 45 minutes in, that's almost dead in the center of your REM cycle. So now all of a sudden, you're not going to be rested. You're going to wake up in the middle of REM sleep. So you need to do about 20 minutes. And I realize for some people, it might take you a little bit longer to fall asleep the first few times that you do it. But once you learn that skill, you can slowly decrease it. So I think for me personally, I started about 22 minutes. Then I went down to 19 minutes, then 18 minutes, then 17 minutes. I'm currently at 16 minutes. And I fall asleep, gosh, within a couple minutes. And then I actually very frequently wake up before my alarm even goes off now. So I'm waking up before my alarm even goes off because my brain has been trained that this is what I do. Now, getting into the practical of how you nap, I want to first give a disclaimer. You will not fall asleep every time that you try to nap, especially for the first week or even few weeks that you try it. So keep that in mind, because that's going to kind of alleviate some of the stress and some of the tension of trying to fall asleep the first few times is, hey, you don't have to fall asleep for the nap to be successful. I remember the first few weeks I tried it, there were times where I said, hey, I don't know if I fell asleep, but I know that I feel better. Okay, so how do you actually fall asleep, and what are some best practices for napping? Now, a couple things. First things first, you need to make sure that your environment is set up in a way that is good for napping. Okay, so there's a couple things that you gotta have. Number one is earplugs. Okay, so I live in the middle of the city, it's loud, or maybe you have people in your office, or maybe you have people in your home that are making noise. So you wanna make sure that you got earplugs so you don't get woken up, or right when you're about to fall asleep, you don't hear a bunch of noise, right? The second thing is you need a face mask. So something to block the light. This is a super cheap one off of Amazon. You can probably get a much nicer one than this, but a face mask to block the light. And then one other thing that I don't necessarily use for napping, but I use at night to sleep better, which I thought was worth mentioning in this video, is these blue blocker sunglasses. So basically this blocks the blue light, which blue light is often what keeps you up and keeps you from sleeping. So I use night vision or night mode on my iPhone. I also use Flux on my Mac. And that helps bring out the blue light so that I will fall asleep easier at night. And then I also wear these at night before I go to bed. So you need to create an environment that's susceptible to napping. That's first things first. Now, obviously, it's a cool, dark room, or you've got your earplugs, you've got your shades or your night blocking or light blocking face mask. Now you lay down and now it's time to go to sleep, right? Which is way easier said than done for most people. So here's one thing that I found, and now this really works well for introverts or for anyone high achievers who think a lot. Because probably one of the hardest things that you're going to run into is quieting your brain for long enough to fall asleep or for long enough to nap. So there's a couple things that you can do here. Meditation really helps. and you can do that either in the morning or as part of your napping. And some people like to just listen to a meditation track, and that actually works. And they might not even fall asleep, but it kind of starts to train your brain. So what I like to do is pretend that I'm a puddle melting into the bed. So with every in breath, I focus on the breath, and then with every out breath, I pretend that I'm a puddle melting into the bed. So what this does is a couple things. Number one, this helps you keep from thinking, right? Because you're focused exclusively on your breath. So I'm focused on the in breath and the out breath. And when I stay focused on that, I'm not focused on thinking. And then the second thing is it really relaxes. So if I'm imagining myself melting into the bed, right? Then over the course of it, in the first few times that I napped, I'm training my brain. Okay, so I'm imagining myself melting, and that helps just kind of ease the stress. And then eventually I would relax and relax and relax, and then I'm off asleep, right? So as with anything, this is something that you literally have to train your brain for. So it's not going to be easy the first few weeks, like I mentioned. You're going to have to build that in as a habit, and the more you do it, the more you practice it. If you kind of create a habit, that habit loop, as Robert Duhigg talks about in The Power of Habit, then you're going to submit that habit. Now, one last thing, kind of a bonus item for you, and this is how to sleep on planes, because this is where I get a lot of napping done, and I know a lot of people who also say, I can't sleep on planes. So I follow this exact same process, except obviously a little bit different because I'm upright. So it's the same Power of Habit. So what I actually do is I have a sleeping playlist. Now this sleeping playlist is the same playlist, and I start with the same exact song every single time. So this is in The Power of Habit. Charles Duhigg, talks about cue, routine, reward, right? So the cue is I get on the airplane, and when I'm ready to go to sleep, I put in my earbuds and I play the exact same song. And then the routine is that I fall asleep. So then my body knows this is a sleep song off of the sleep playlist, and then I lean my head back and then I fall asleep within a couple minutes. Okay, so there you have it. That's how to get over nap shaming, maybe as we call it. That's also how to kind of get yourself in the mindset of, oh, I'm someone that can nap. Then we walked in through how do you do it? How long should it be? How do you fall asleep? What if you're an introvert? What if you're someone who has all these thoughts that are you're just in your head and you can't fall asleep? Okay, let's adjust our expectations to maybe the first 15 times that we try it, we're not going to fall asleep, but we know and we trust that we're going to be able to train our body so then it's something that we can repeatedly do. And this is exactly why I've been able to kind of reduce my nap time down from 20 to 19, all the way down to 16-minute naps, which sounds crazy, but it's exactly the amount of time. And I actually, like I said, wake up early. So that's the nap process. I would encourage you, try this for 1 week. Okay, if you do it once, twice, maybe even 3 times, you're probably just going to say, hey, yeah, I told you so. That still doesn't work. I've tried this before and it doesn't work. But if you try it for at least a week, I'm confident that with these tips and with this process, you'll be able to train your body, or at least be on the road to training your body to take naps, and you'll be able to start seeing the benefits of that. You'll have a reset, you'll feel rested, you'll get more done, you'll have 2 days in one, and oh, by the way, when you log off from work, you'll have more energy to spend with your kids, with your spouse, to spend on extracurricular activities, whatever that is. So give this a test over the next week and let me know how it goes. As always, comment below this video. Let me know what you thought. Was there anything here that was particularly helpful or new for you? And have you tried napping, and does it work for you? Let me know in the comments. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. See ya.